Instructor Veltherax stood at the observation window of the Galactic Youth Education Facility, her 6 eyes blinking in rapid succession, a clear sign of distress among the Crithian species. Below, in the training arena, something impossible was happening. The cubs, younglings from 17 different species across the Galactic Coalition, were working together. Actually working together. Not the forced, awkward cooperation that instructors had been trying to teach for 3 decades, but genuine fluid teamwork. "This cannot be," Veltherax whispered, her translator chip struggling with the emotion in her voice. Beside her, Administrator Quan's crystalline form shimmered with confusion. The statistical probability of this level of cross-species cooperation among adolescents is 0.0003%. We've been attempting this exercise for 32 cycles. Every attempt has ended in territorial disputes or complete communication breakdown. Yet there they were, a Vraxian cub, whose species was notoriously solitary, physically supporting an injured plintoid youngster. A group of Selkarian children, usually aggressive and competitive, were sharing their resources with the smaller Tigerian cubs. Most shocking of all, they were using a hybrid communication system, part gesture, part vocalization, part touch, that shouldn't exist. "Run the security footage," Veltherax commanded.
"Start from morning cycle."
"I want to know what changed." The holographic display flickered to life, showing the cubs arriving for their daily education session. They had been their usual chaotic selves, squabbling, posturing, each group clustered with their own kind. Then the human had arrived. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Coalition, their admission barely 2 solar cycles old. They were strange creatures, bipedal, soft-skinned, with only 2 eyes and no natural weapons to speak of. The Coalition had accepted them more out of curiosity than respect. Their planet had been on the verge of self-destruction when first contact was made. Yet somehow they had survived their own worst tendencies. This particular human, designated as Marcus Chen in the facility records, had been assigned as a junior assistant, essentially janitorial duties and basic equipment maintenance. No one had expected him to interact with the cubs. The footage showed Marcus entering the arena that morning, carrying cleaning supplies. A Vraxian cub had knocked over a container of nutrient paste and Marcus had begun cleaning it. That's when the Selkarian youngster had approached, aggressive posture, teeth bared, clearly looking for confrontation. Veltherax leaned closer to the display. She had seen this scenario countless times. It always ended with the staff having to separate the participants. But Marcus had done something unexpected.
He had sat down.
Just sat down cross-legged on the floor, making himself smaller, less threatening. Then he had smiled. That peculiar baring of teeth that humans use to express friendliness, so easily mistaken for aggression by other species. The Selkarian cub had hesitated. Marcus had held up a cleaning cloth and, in broken galactic standard, had said something. The translation appeared on the screen. "Help? Together fast." The cub had taken the cloth. Within minutes, 3 other cubs had joined. Marcus had turned a chore into a game, making sound effects, celebrating each cub's contribution with what humans called high fives, a gentle striking of palms that somehow conveyed approval and equality simultaneously. "Pause," Administrator Quan commanded. Is the human teaching them something? Indeed, Marcus was demonstrating something with his hands. The cubs watched, fascinated. He was showing them how to communicate across species barriers, simple gestures paired with universal concepts. A hand over the heart meant I care. Palms up meant I share. Hands together meant we work as one. The footage continued. Over the following hours, Marcus never positioned himself as an authority. He sat with the cubs, not above them. When disputes arose, he didn't impose solutions. He asked questions. Why angry? What need? How help? He told them stories. The footage showed the cubs gathered around him during rest period. The translator struggled with his words, something about humanity's own history, about tribes that had fought for millennia learning to cooperate, about a species that had nearly destroyed itself learning that survival meant unity. He's teaching them failure, Veltherax realized, her voice filled with wonder. He's telling them about human mistakes. Most species hid their failures, especially from younglings. It was considered shameful, but Marcus spoke openly about human wars, human prejudices, human environmental disasters. and how humans had learned from each one. One plintoid cub had asked, through its translator, "Humans not afraid look weak?" Marcus had laughed. "Strongest thing human do? Say I was wrong. I learn better." The footage jumped to the current exercise. The cubs had been assigned the standard cooperation task. Move a heavy object from one end of the arena to the other using species-specific tools. It was designed to be impossible without proper coordination, something that had never been achieved. But now they weren't using just their species-specific tools. They were combining them, improvising, communicating with Marcus's simple gesture system. When one method failed, they tried another without blame or shame. They were applying everything they had absorbed from the human. Veltherax turned from the display to look at the real-time arena below. The cubs had successfully moved the object. They were celebrating, 17 different species, making a cacophony of sounds that somehow harmonized into shared joy. "Bring the human to my office," she said quietly, "and prepare a report for the Coalition Council." "What should the report say?" Quan asked. Veltherax watched as Marcus high-fived each cub, his face displaying that strange human expression of pure delight. "That we may have been wrong about humans. They're not technologically superior. They're not physically remarkable. But they possess something we've forgotten in our thousands of years of civilization." "What's that?" "The memory of what it's like to be broken, and the wisdom of how to heal." An hour later, Marcus stood in Veltherax's office looking nervous. The instructor's multifaceted eyes studied him carefully. "The cubs have accomplished something today that we believed impossible," she began. "When I asked them who taught them to work together like this, do you know what happened?" Marcus shook his head, genuinely confused. "Every single cub, all 47 of them, pointed at you." The human's eyes widened. "I didn't really teach them anything. I just talked with them, told them some stories, helped them clean." "Exactly," Veltherax said, her translator somehow capturing the warmth in her voice. "You treated them as equals. You shared your species' failures along with its successes. You showed them that cooperation is not a curriculum to master, but a practice to live." She leaned forward. "How would you like a new position, Marcus Chen?" "As our first instructor of interspecies cooperation?" Marcus looked stunned. "I'm not qualified." "I'm just a human," Veltherax interrupted. "Which means you're a member of a species that learned unity the hardest way possible. That is the greatest qualification of all." In the arena below, the cubs were already asking when Teacher Marcus would return. They had learned something that day that couldn't be found in any coalition database. That the strongest bonds aren't forged through superiority or perfection, but through shared struggle and mutual respect. The Galactic Coalition had spent centuries trying to teach cooperation from a position of evolved enlightenment. It took a species that had clawed its way from the brink of extinction to show them the truth. That unity isn't taught from above, but built from below, one gesture of kindness at a time. And every cub, from every world, now pointed toward that truth.